says she's intelligent, mean, which was your spark. And then what key points came out of your articles. What we want to do now is have each table tell us what were some of the key theories and their key ideas. Now, if one table talks about Carol Dweck, or about Howard Gardner, or about Robert Sternberg, then you could say, we had Sternberg too, and we would add this piece. Or we had Sternberg too, and they did a fine job. We want to talk about this other theory. So we'll get a bunch of theories out. Then, because not all of you had all the theories, we'll send you back to continue working on your definitions. And then each table is going to get to present its definition and link it to the key theories that influenced you. And you could do that, you can assign one person to do that presentation, or you could, decide that you're going to have a couple people interact about it. So that'll be part of what we'll decide. So, which table would like to start? What's a key theory that you think is going to be very influential in your definition?
We can go because we agreed that malleable works. Yes, we did. I wanted to say that out loud.
I taught a new word today.
Okay.
It's malleable. Do you want us to start with the key ideas and then go to definition, or definition first?
No, the definition is going to come. We're going to do this.
Just gonna lay
You
the
may
key
hear
ideas.
something from another table that you didn't have in your pile of stuff. So we're going to send you back to rework your definitions
Okay.
after we do this.
So I had a Dweck study that basically dealt with two different theories of intelligence. One that intelligence is fixed, and the other that is malleable. So is it something that is predetermined, like I have an IQ of 93 and therefore that's how smart I am, or is it something that is ever changing and ever developing? And as you can imagine, the trend is towards it is ever changing and ever developing, that it is not something that we just get stamped with and are condemned to be. That it is something that can be changed and developed over time. But we also talked about Howard Gardner.
Well, one theory at a time, and then we'll keep going around until we get all the theories out.
Done.
How many talked about Dweck? Okay, so all but this table. Okay. I'll come back to that. Okay. So, new theory?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we were going to mention Gardner about intelligence coming from a multitude of domains, and in turn the teachers need to realize that people come with different strengths and may need to adjust their styles to accommodate.
Okay.
And I'm glad you said that. People come with different strengths, but they can learn all of them to some degree, correct? So they are, what would you say, malleable?
Malleable.
They're malleable, yes. Sometimes when I work with teachers, they say, okay, Lynn is kinesthetically intelligent, therefore I'll try to teach everything to her through that mode. Is that a good idea? No. It's a terrible idea, because not everything fits. Just as not everything can be taught from a behaviorist perspective, or a cognitivist or a constructivist. I mean, we're not going to have the conversation about why it would be good to do the fire drill in a certain way. That would be constructivist. We're going to do the move quickly. I can't teach her everything she needs to know kinesthetically. I can, as a teacher, try to find projects that are going to make the most of that while having her learn how to work with the other intelligences. Okay? So yeah, Howard Gardner is a key one. Another table, different theory.
I guess I'll go. I don't know that this was necessarily a theory, but the article I chose was how one's viewpoints on intelligence interpret and their stereotypes affect how they interact with someone. So the article I had was reducing the effects of stereotype threats on African American students by shaping theories of intelligence. And it was basically saying that intelligence is not fixed, but when you believe that a group of people are only capable of so much, you teach them in that manner, therefore they only achieve at that level. And so it's almost like that self-fulfilling prophecy that here it is, I was right, they can only achieve this, but it's because you place stereotypes on them based on your knowledge that, or your belief that intelligence is a fixed entity, and that certain groups can only achieve at certain levels.
That's an interesting piece that says we put limits, external limits, on our expectations for people, and that can interact then with their understanding of how intelligent they could be, or how we treat them can change. It's like I was telling a couple tables, there was a study done of Japanese and American mothers, and when an American mother heard that her daughter was not doing well in math, her response was, well, she's never done well in math. I never did well in math. You know, why are you making her do math? Which is which kind of Dweckian view?
It's fixed.
It's fixed. The Japanese mother said, I should have known this sooner. She is not trying hard enough. I will make her try harder. And that is the more incremental, malleable change kind of view. And clearly, how teachers think about the people who are in their classrooms can be affected by this kind of view. Okay?
And you apply that to those in the adult work setting as well, how I think about my coworker, my manager, what have you. If I have a fixed view of that particular person, then I may approach that person differently in my teaching interactions, even in just how I talk about a project or debrief. So this really is something for, I think, everybody to be aware of, because we all do bring some biases and stereotypes to the table, and the sooner we recognize that, the easier it is for us to adapt and open up that whole path for learning and conversation.
We had Robert Sternberg as one of the people that we talked about, and he has different components of intelligence. He's saying that there's practical intelligence. He's also saying that intelligence can be experiential. In other words, by experience you gain knowledge. And then he also said that being intelligent is the ability to process information effectively. And we kind of said that at this table, but we said it, and we use different words to talk about it.
Now, his triarchic theory of intelligence really has three parts, and I love a story he tells. I don't know if it was in your article. He says you get into doctoral study by passing tests. Most people have to take the GRE or some test to get into graduate school. And that's one kind of intelligence. What kind of intelligence is that, where you have to pass a standardized test? What do you do on standardized tests?
You memorize.
You give back information that other people ask you for. Okay. He said you get out of graduate school by having creative intelligence. You have to create a project nobody's done before and do a study that breaks new ground. So what you're selected on tells you nothing about what you're going to have to do. And then when you've got your doctorate and you get hired, what you'll get hired on is your interpersonal intelligence. How you come across to people and how you interact. And doctoral study often does nothing to prepare you for that. So he says, we're not really very smart. Maybe he'd say intelligent. We're not very smart about how we help people move from place to place or see the connections. So the practical would be that creative. Well, actually, both the creative and the interaction. And the other piece is what we ordinarily label IQ, or smartness in one sense, we sometimes limit it as that. So that's a really interesting theory, and I think it overlaps somewhat with Gardner, in that the social interaction intelligence he talks about, or the interpersonal, is that interpersonal part that comes there. And the passing tests is probably which pieces, which of Gardner would be most salient. What's on those tests all the time?
Multiple choice.
But think of the Gardner categories.
Oh,
Logical, mathematical, and linguistic. And those are the two most honored in our society, if you think about testing. But they're not the ones that are going to give us new ideas, necessarily. They're not the creative part. Okay.
Another table?